Coming up next.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually prefer that as the power of love though. Because I was
Shut up.
hockey, but
No.
Wait, so Emu is about to make a move?
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of the... This can't be the end of it.
The Serpent of Hellfire is supposed to be our moon god. What does Loki see himself as? The sun god. But we already have a sun god, which is Luffy. But he's actually that representation of the moon god. That's also why whenever we see him chained essentially to like the underworld or essentially that would be the Serpent of Hellfire being a wrap around the red line. That would be that representation.
How is Jarma getting compared to the Gorosei?
So check it out. I can explain that really easy.
We mentioned the God's Night. Let us talk about it. Last chapter, the last thing that happened was Gabon being able to hurt Summers. You feel me? By cutting his arm. I wanted to ask y'all, what do y'all think? Why do y'all think that is? Could it be hockey? I've heard theories about love and whatnot. What do y'all think that is? And I feel like we kind of got the answers a little bit in the spoilers coming up.
I was about to say, because I had got done watching. Shout out to a theory page and just a lore page that I watch on a regular right after I read these chapters. Grand Line Review.
Hey, yes, sir.
And also O'Hara, he be coming with his videos as well. But I was just watching a Grand Line Review video before we jumped on here, bro. And he was explaining that it could possibly be the power of love. And we've seen instances throughout One Piece, especially with Sanji. And he went through this whole thing and how Sanji could be a direct representative of the power of love just because of how Germa 6 was created, you feel me, where all his siblings, all their emotions were taken out so they could be killing machines. But that wasn't the same case for Sanji, and that's why people believe, like, you know, he over loves and he's able to use that power to protect others and things of that nature. So it's just like what he was saying makes sense, but the anime fan in me is not willing to accept it, even though just knowing how One Piece is, it might be true. It might be true, but I think it could be the power of love. Me personally, I think it might just be another advanced type of hockey that he was able to use. Because, and then also, yes, it has not regenerated, but that was really a quick panel. So we don't know. We truly don't know if it will ever regenerate or it's regenerating while he's outside the panel falling off.
We'll get the answers later on down this episode because, as I said, spoilers for 11:49 coming up.
11:49 itself just to it has not came out yet, but there are spoilers out.
Yeah, the spoilers are out.
This is some bullshit, anime fans. See, this is why we can't ever have nothing nice. But that's my. I'm sorry.
I never read the spoilers. I never do spoilers.
I promise you.
I've never read one.
That's how do you think I meet people like Dracula D Rage? I read the spoilers. I go back and when the official panels come out, I read it and then I'll go listen to people that actually I feel like have more knowledge in it. Especially like what's his name, Monkey D.For. I feel like that's how I met him. Like I met him like 2 months ago. Just been consistently keeping up. I'm like, bro, how do people do this? Like I don't get it. Y'all gonna see what I'm saying. We gonna get there in the moment.
I'm saying they be going deep into the research and the actual mythology.
Nah, these dudes have Oda in the basement hiding him, and then they're not telling us. I'm telling you.
Nah. Trust. Nah, but like, again, like whenever it comes down to it, I mean, ideally, it's a lot of like mythology, like looking for whatever the case is. I usually look for like minor ones, so it's not the ones such as like I would guess you would say Norse mythology or anything of that nature. I think whenever we're looking at the minor ones, those are the ones that really play those roles. That whenever I'm say predicting like whatever chapter, that's also why I look at spoilers, so I can look at what stuff I got correct. But that's the only reason why I look at them. Outside of that, though, whenever you said love, right? So, I mean, I've been talking about the power of love for probably about 2 months now. So, I mean, now that it's been like more reference, especially because Gabbana is called the Minister of Love, I mean, I've pretty much been right at this point. So, I mean, I'm kind of enjoying it. But I mean, think about it though. I see
Do you want to share a little bit of what you were saying, like as far as the love aspect of things?
But before he does that, all I'm saying is if this is truly the power of love, I don't want to hear nobody talk about fairy tale ever again.
Carly, that's why I'm over here pissed. That is why I'm over here
on
pissed.
my soul. I don't want to hear the power of friendship argument ever again if One Piece is allowed to have the power of love.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm pissed. It better not be.
I don't care. I don't care how it's built out. I don't care if it's complex.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually prefer that as a power of love though, because I was
Shut up.
hockey, but
No.
Look.
Power of love. Shit out of here, bro.
It has to, because think of Kaido. You think Gaban was gonna be stronger than Kaido's hockey?
Wait, what do you think? Is Scappa Gaban strong enough?
No, I'm talking about like the hockey. Like we just never heard of like a concept of hockey. It's just
This
for, like,
is the left hand of Roger. Yes, I think Scappa Gaban can slice and dice Kaido.
That's real.
You think so?
Fuck yes.
I mean,
No,
Kenny, it's
there's no shot. There's no shot he can't, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Like Gaban is killing Kaido?
It's still not helping us because, like, yes, he should be able to, but guess what? He's still the minister of
The love.
Carla,
it's not helping
Look,
us.
think about it, right? We have many metaphorical reasons on how we're seeing love, right? We have the fist of love, which we all assume was just a gag, right?
Yeah.
And then we also have whenever Bo was talking about love as a hurricane, right? And then what also fruit does she have? She has the love fruit, which also would be a counter for the people of the abyss.
Facts.
And then what? Oh, also think about it, right? Actually, no. Kuma hasn't done what he's done yet to Saturn. So, within the chapter, right? Vegapunk says that why is like Kuma able to pretty much be like running around? He's in this vegetation state. Vegapunk says, and he chops it up to the power of love. Why is that? And also, why was Bonnie able to actually stab Saturn? Because she has a love for Kuma. This is her father that she's talking about. She has a strong emotion towards him. And this is also why the abyss is going to relate back to Perona's fruit, because it's this negative emotion.
You said Perona?
Yes.
Somebody tell me what the abyss is.
Oh, I can tell you that.
Please, I was about to say, please go ahead. I think I know what it is, but please go ahead.
All right. So the abyss is essentially going to work off of, if you recall, Miss Golden Week from Alabasta. So like she works off of the color trap, right? So it essentially works off of like whatever color she picks for you, that's what emotion you're going to derive off of, right? So whenever you mix all those colors together, you get the color black, which is also what we're having with the abyss. So that would, of course, be in the concept of they're null and void to emotions, essentially. So that's why whenever we see them first teleport onto Elbaf, they don't have no facial expressions. This is also why whenever we see Gunko kick Brook, she pretty much was tugging at her heart, essentially. So because she has this such like strong emotion towards Brook.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I also forgot about the Perona aspect. So like Perona, essentially, like, of course, she does the whole negative thing. You have no morale, anything of that nature. Also, whenever we're looking at like the ghost zone, whenever she sends out those ghosts, they're intangible. Also to be like surveillance, essentially what is like Imu doing with the Gorison members and also the Holy Knights.
I feel like that's gonna come back. I mean, in literally the next point, because we're gonna get into the spoilers right now. I feel like that's, first of all, let me say this. I had a whole little graph ready for Gunko's identity. That shit don't matter. Throw that shit in the garbage. That's why I literally had to bring up the spoilers, because the spoilers said, "Nigga, you don't know shit. Throw that shit away."
Understandable.
Listen to the niggas that know.
Understandable.
So, One Piece, chapter 11 and 49. Spoilers are out. The chapter continues from the last one. We got Scappa Gaban versus Summers. Gaban completely defeats Summers and cuts his body into pieces using haki, and he's Axis. Summers stays alive but can't regenerate. That's interesting. So he's just chopped up in pieces, sitting in a pile, but he's still alive.
Oh yeah, because they're immortal, aren't they?
I mean, yeah, but I thought the cutting was going to do something. Gunko goes to Colin and says she will kill him if Scapper doesn't surrender. He does. She stabs him and throws him from the tree. We get a flashback of Brooks. A flashback of Brooks' past. This blew my mind. I'm not going to lie. Because I was literally here like, oh, we're going to get some crazy answer. Is it Genie? Is it the clone? Whatever it is, I did not expect this. we get a flashback of Brook's past and learn that he knew Gunko a long time ago before he became a pirate. How old is she?
Immortal.
Well, it wouldn't be necessarily, it's not really like, I wouldn't say when it comes to the Abyss, they're immortal. I think it comes to like the Gorisei members, they're actually dead. But whenever it comes to like Gunko or Summers or any of those people, we see that like they're actually able to visibly age. And we see that with Garland, which he's pretty old now from whenever we see him in God Valley, essentially, right? Okay. So I think that it's necessarily like they're not able to get sick. They're not actually able to essentially like be harmed. So they're pretty much invulnerable more than like being immortal, essentially.
Okay.
That's what I see it as, at least.
I still want to know how old she is, because ain't no way, bro. How old is Brooke?
They doing this nigga like heat on?
I don't know. But anyway.
I need you to read the next part because it's so nice.
Gunko, after she hurts Brooke, she regains control of her mind and tries to free Brooke. You feel me? Imu takes control of Gunko's body and is furious because the Holy Knights took too long and the Holy Land is currently burning and under attack. The Holy Land is under attack in One Piece. Is Dragon on the move? Yes. What is happening? What is going on? Is Dragon on the move?
Dragon's my favorite character, so I've been saying that like during this part of the arc, which I've been saying for like I'd say.
He said time about.
How is Dragon your favorite character? And this man got 5 seconds on the show.
You said, how is he?
This man, we just heard this man's voice for the first time recently.
All right, so once we seen him in chapter 100, because that's whenever it says Legend begins. So that's whenever we see him in Logtown. So he's been my favorite character just based off of one, his ideals. So like, of course, he's going to parallel back to Akainu. So essentially, it would just be the fact of they have 2 different scenes of like how they see justice, right? So whenever we see their justice, one, Akainu hates Dragon, and that's why he calls Luffy Dragon's son. So of course, it would be in that same parallel because one, Dragon left him. So it essentially is like, it's really, I don't even rock with you no more. So it's kind of like in that same regard. But like anytime that we see really anything within the story, it's usually Dragon moving shuffle pieces. He's very different from the other Monkey D family because he's a strategist more than a head-on person. That's why I like him so much.
That's solid. That's solid. Bomba, rewind. Give me a second. So was that the end of the spoilers?
No, it is not.
God damn it.
We got one more line. The chapter ends with Imu saying, Mu will show how a god rules over the world.
The moon?
Mu. Imu. Mu. Will show how a god rules over this world, bro.
This nigga gave himself a street name.
Oda said, crank this motherfucker up.
Oh, wait, so Imu is about to make a move?
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of the... This can't be the end of... This can't...
That's the end of the chapter. I mean, we're not the end of One Piece, but, you know.
It's not the...
Shout out Pew Piece for the spoilers.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I'm confuddled. I'm conflicted. I feel a lot of ways I feel like I can't say on TikTok. I'm feeling a lot of emotions right now.
Let's back up.
Based off that. Yeah, Kenny, you know what? Kenny talk.
You said how old is Brooke, right?
How old is Gunko?
Oh, okay, never mind. They said how old was Brooke. Like, Brooke is so old that he calls Roger a rookie still.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because they're talking about before he became a pirate, and he was calling Roger a rookie. But Gunko looks kind of young-ish.
They're immortal.
Just like Dracule just said, they do age. They do show that they can age. As far as just like the Holy Knights compared to the girls say. So why is and also too, we do know that Gunko is not she's not a saint. She's not a proper celestial, is she? She's not.
She's not.
I mean, we don't know what her devil fruit all does though either.
I mean, it's arrows, as far as we can tell. I think the biggest thing that we're actually undermining from this read is Imu is controlling the herd. Like, she is trapped too. Like, she's not living off of her free will. She is trapped and just being forced to do these things. The moment that she's able to, and love, the aspect of love comes back too. The moment she recognizes Brooke, she's able to break free from this power from Imu and then do a little bit. And then he gets upset. He's like, nah, let me double like, what you doing?
I mean, the control aspect, again, it goes back to Perona's fruit because that's what Perona is able to do with the ghost. That's why I say that. So I've been.
And Oda loves to use recycle ideas and
Oh yeah,
just expand on it.
exactly. Like everything that we're seeing right now is just an amplified version of pre-time skip.
Man, I can't believe that. Just like that, Emu is finna bust a move.
Emu's finna be on a move, and then Marijois under attack.
At this point, if it's Dragon, hey, finally, bro. We waited 25 years for you to get active. Good job. Finally active, bro. What?
That'd be crazy.
It can only be the Revolutionary Army that's attacking them.
I mean, let's elaborate a little bit more on Emu. And obviously, they're about to get active, but for the longest, they were not active. They were just in that room, staring at pictures and a big ass hat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that big ass hat. Whose hat is that? We saw Joy Boy. We saw the silhouette. Joy Boy.
I saw a theory on that.
Okay, Kenny, tell us.
Joy Boy at one point was a giant, and that's the giant version of Joy Boy's hat.
Not buying it.
Nah, why not?
I don't know. I'm just not buying it. You telling me that she just stretch and stay there? Okay. And then she's just staring at it? Because I feel like there is no point in staring at something that doesn't serve a purpose actively. So there has to be something to do with the hat that you're just preserving it, specifically in the place that people don't have access to. Why is that? Feel like I know who got the answers. So please help us out.
Shoot, I mean, I got something for it. Shoot.
Okay.
So like you're specifically asking like whose straw hat that is?
I mean, if you got the answer to that, yes.
It would be Goka.
Goka. You talked about it yesterday.
Well, so you guys know like who the moon god is exactly?
No, I was on your live yesterday.
Oh, okay. So
yes.
Essentially, if you don't know who Goka is, it would be the Serpent of Hellfire. So whenever it comes to like the mermaid quintuplets, it essentially works off of Ichika, Nika, Sanka, Yanka 1, and then Yanka 2. So whenever it comes to the number 5, it would mean Goka. Also, Goka translates to Hellfire also. So that would be that Serpent of Hellfire that we're seeing. And so if you look at that straw hat, we can parallel that back to Thriller Bark. So whenever we were looking at Thriller Bark, the first thing that Ors was looking for was a straw hat. What that would also be looking for is that Serpent of Hellfire that we're seeing would also be looking for that straw hat, which that person that is going that to be, or that energy source that they're looking for is going to be Blackbeard. So ideally, that would be that whole regard.
Wait, you lost me.
Okay, wait. Can you understand? I understand. But before you even comment on it, Carlo, I think this is the time. I'm going to need you to share the theory that I had saved in the Google Drive for us to watch from DraculaDrage. Please. And this is the theory about Blackbeard. Because I feel like he touched on it. I just want us to move forward with the full picture, and then he can answer the questions that we might have. There goes the theory. Let's get into it, man.
So what is Blackbeard's end goal? To destroy the moon. So of course, it's your boy Drac. We're coming back here with some more theories, more speculation. So let's go ahead and lock in. Like I'm always saying, Blackbeard is our moon god. He is also our Serpent of Hellfire, which is Goka. And we already know that there were 7 moons that we have within our story, but 6 of them were destroyed or absorbed. Which I parallel this with the story of the Bakunawa. But why would Blackbeard want to destroy the moon? Because it would cause the world to literally be engulfed in this extreme darkness. Well, we know that he has the Yami Yami no Mi, which is the darkness fruit. We also know that he is the only Logia that is not actually able to be intangible. So if Blackbeard is to destroy the moon, which would stop reflecting the sun's light, it would literally cause this extreme darkness in which he would be able to thrive within the darkness and actually be able to be intangible. So he would reign supreme. But he also has the power of the Quake fruit, so that would also encase all these earthquakes which are going to happen, which would be this world-ending Ragnarok-like storm. Because everybody assumes that it's going to be Loki that starts the Ragnarok event. No, it's going to be Blackbeard. Because Blackbeard also relates to Apopus because he's also a snake god that inhabits the darkness and also earthquakes. And Apopus fights Ra, and he's our sun god. But Ra would not be paralleling Luffy, it'd be Ace. And the reasons of that is because at that point in the story, Blackbeard was the void or this darkness that was extinguishing the sun, which he has the flare fruit. So this would just be a macrocosm of what we are going to see eventually later on within the story whenever Blackbeard destroys the moon. But let's take a look at Emu and Gecko Moria because they parallel each other, of course. And so we know that Gecko Moria was in the body of Ors, in which Gecko Moria was waiting for a shadow that was actually able to inhabit Ors. We parallel this with the Serpent of Hellfire, the shadow, but actually the person that Emu is waiting for to inhabit this is Blackbeard. That's why back in the Harley text, whenever we were looking at it and it says the Earth God was enraged and it used the Serpent of Hellfire to encase all the world in darkness and death, this would be Blackbeard. And this is what Emu was waiting on, for the return of the Serpent of Hellfire to actually be in fruition, for it to be used by him. But who else is paralleling Blackbeard? And this would be Orochi, because Orochi has the Yamata no Orochi, which is this mythical Zoan, which was also this 8-headed snake, which Orochi was the same person that was taking out all the other Daimyo families. And all the other Daimyo families outside of the Korazumi, their name means moon. So Orochi was making this moonless region, which was what the Serpent of Hellfire was doing by absorbing all the other moons, which just relates back to the story of the Bakunawa. So how is Blackbeard going to be defeated within the end of the story? If we take a look back at what the Bakunawa was doing whenever it was trying to absorb the last moon, it was disrupted because of the instruments that were being played, specifically the drums. And what do we know? We have the drums of liberation within our story, which is going to be Luffy, the sun god. And within the third world, it says that the sun is going to return one more time and cause this new dawn. So this is going to be that ultimate task that Luffy is going to have to overcome, in which he's going to have to use these drums of liberation to disrupt what Blackbeard is trying to do. Also, the reason why I know that Blackbeard is going to destroy the moon is because of these serpent currents that we have within the story that relates to the tides and the moon. Because whenever we are looking at the serpent currents, that was back in Paradise, in which we get many different relations of a snake being related to the water, with the deep sea current and also the surface current being that diagram of how we are seeing Ouroboros, which is the tail-eating snake. We also get this with Kaido, with him being this dragon that's fighting the sun god that has the drums of liberations, in which he was also the same person that was taking out the Kozuki family, which is a representation of the moon. He's going to be the hero that is going to stop Blackbeard. This is why there's multiple instances within this story of people fighting snakes. This is also why Jinbei tells him that he needs to be this hero, even though it's of course going to be indirectly, but he's going to have to be this hero for the world. He's going to be embodying what Joy Boy and Nika are, which just ties back to the fictional character of Sora, which he was the hero of the sea, in which Sora would just be a parallel back to Joy Boy, Germa 66 being a parallel to Emu and the Gorosei members. So this is going to be the play at hand that we are going to be seeing from Blackbeard. So Luffy is going to do that exact same thing with Blackbeard. Message. And all this took was some speculation to turn this into a theory. Real.
Message. I heard what he said.
Yeah, that's my signature.
Yes, sir. Kenny was stressing out throughout the whole thing. I was looking at he was there
Yeah,
like,
I see them. Yeah, I see them stressing out. Kenny, what's the questions, bro? I know you have some questions. Like,
he's like, what is going on? I mean, before they even have a question, I think that one of the things I want to point out is that I can appreciate really how music has a role to play.
Oh yeah,
moving forward, especially like the drums of liberation, because I feel like for the longest, like we've seen, always Luffy has talked about like how excited he was to have a musician in his crew. Like that's the only thing that I really remember him going after. Like there had to be some sense to that.
Oh, because I mean, the ancient energy source that we're seeing like within the mural. So I mean, even if we look at your background, like how we see those people that are carrying that ancient energy source to that Serpent of Hellfire, that is going to be
right here.
Yeah, exactly. That exactly right there. So they're going down to hell. They're coming back out because their souls are essentially going to be reverberating with the world, essentially, which is also going to be that Nika dance that we're also seeing, because of course it's going to be that music and that rhythmic drum beat. That's why the drums of liberation is ideally going to be that ancient energy source that we're looking for.
And that's why they power EMF. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Kenny, can you invite us through, you know, what's going on through your head?
Maybe, you know, I'm just tired from working all the time.
Come on, Kenny, bro.
There's so many pieces. Like the last thing that threw me, I'm like, how is Germa getting compared to the Gorosei?
So check it out. I can explain that really easy. So, all right. So one, whenever we're looking at Germa 66, we look at like his siblings, right? So we look at Sanji and his siblings. Each one of them have a number, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what do we see whenever the Gorosei members actually get summoned on Egghead? They have numbers and they have summonings. Also, whenever we look at Judge, he has authority over these siblings, right? Just like how Emu has authority over the Gorosei members. So ideally, it would just relate back to how we're seeing like the story of Sora, which is the what is his name? The Warrior of the Sea.
Legend of the Marines, yeah.
Yeah, and so he's also fighting against Germa 66. If we just look at essentially like Germa 66 being that parallel to like what is his name? The Gorosei members and Emu, then essentially Sora would essentially be like the Joy Boy or Luffy in that regard. Because actually Sora has a theme song in which it's very reminiscent of how we're seeing the drums of liberation. Actually.
Who is Sora?
I told you to check it out before. It's the hero of the Marines. Yeah,
it's the hero of the Marines. So like pretty much it comes from a comic strip that we see back in Whole Cake Island. And so essentially it was I think it was Gavino that was talking about it. And so he was pretty much just going over like the fact of, oh, it's so great or whatever the case is, because Germa was pretty much like just reigning over the North Blue. And so that would essentially be like where it comes from. It's just from a comic strip though.
Okay, so next question. You saying that Blackbeard is the big dragon thing on Bombas?
Yes. So the reasons why that would be the case and scenario, he doesn't have it yet, right? Because it's going to be in Loki, because he's going to be that variation. So whenever we're looking at the first world, right? Of course, we know that Nika was manifested into the world, right? because of course, like all the slaves were like pretty much praying to be liberated, all those different types of things. That would also be happening for the Serpent of Hellfire. It was manifested into the world because everybody was like pretty much draining all those resources. That's also why we see the people up at the moon. They were also doing that to the moon. So is that clear?
How was you said Blackbeard supposed to be? Is he gonna get that devil fruit? That's gonna be the third devil fruit.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be his third devil fruit because he's gonna.
And hey, can you actually get into that? Because I saw that on the live yesterday. You explained something as far as because yesterday when I hopped on this live, this is what I saw. I had seen a theory, and I cannot find for the life of me who came up with this theory. But it is a theory about how the way that Blackbeard was stealing devil fruit had to deal with eating somebody's brain.
Oh,
and the similarity that the person had brought up was how Akainu actually landed a specific punch on Whitebeard that blew up his skull. Like, it's not really shown in the anime, but in the manga, it's very prominent. So when they just believe that when he put the tarps over Whitebeard, he's actually there to eat his brain, just making sure that people don't see it. And then another example that they gave was actually Mother Caramel, who was entirely consumed by Big Mom, but by default, her brain was also consumed. So that's how they inherited that power. Now, when I brought it up to this guy, you see the ideas just flare up. And then he talks about how, oh, that would make sense as far as you explained the Bakunawa and you explained like the Ba and how that would make sense as far as like knowledge and the brain. And I just wanted to elaborate because I didn't even get that. And I was, like I said, I was busy at the time.
That's all good. So it comes off of the concept of the Egyptian soul. So they come off of like three parts. So it essentially comes from your mind, your spirit, and also the soul, essentially. So there's three parts. So that would be the Ba, Ka, and the Ankh. So the Ankh is the intellect. So that second devil fruit that he is getting, which was Blackbeard, or I said Blackbeard's fruit, goodness, Whitebeard's fruit, that would be the intellect that he is getting essentially from what I was hearing within the story. So, or like the theory that you brought up. So I was like, oh, okay, this is making sense. So I can see the reason on why that would be the Ankh, especially because it's that intellect, because it's coming from the brain, essentially.
Something else that you had mentioned there was the possibility of him eventually stealing Loki's devil fruit to kind of complete that circle. Is that something that's still standing in theory?
Oh yeah, I think that's guaranteed.
So are we saying
that devil fruit already?
Yes, that's the fruit that he ate because again, he wanted to eat that Nika fruit. That's why whenever we're like, again, the Serpent of Hellfire is supposed to be our moon god. What does Loki see himself as? The sun god. But we already have a sun god, which is Luffy. But he's actually that representation of the moon god. That's also why whenever we see him chained essentially to like the underworld or essentially that would be the Serpent of Hellfire being a wrap around the red line. That would be that representation.
It's starting to make sense. I'm not going to lie.
Because even in Norse mythology, isn't the what is it, Jormungand? Isn't it supposed to be the snake that wraps around the world?
Yeah, you're talking about
Jormungand.
Yeah, so that would essentially be, of course, like the world-eating snake. It also wraps around the body. That's also why we get that whole revelation of the soak that's or the serpent that's soaked in blood. That's
Wait,
why.
what did you say about him, about Loki and the red line?
So whenever we look at the most recent volume cover that we have, so Oda pretty much drew him like against the world, but he's still chained though. So that would be that representation of him, one being that Serpent of Hellfire, but also being the red line, essentially because the Serpent of Hellfire died creating the red line.
Wow.
No, this is insane. It's like, I know Kenny's physically mind blown, but I'm over here like, damn.
Nah, it's OD, like, bro.
It is OD, and it just it just that alone puts a lot of pieces together, because that's like, as casual watchers and casual readers, that's not something that you're putting together. But when you explain the way that you did, it's like now you understand, like, there's I don't know if this ties into it, but it leads me to believe, like, so they have a reason to be afraid of Loki almost. You feel me? Like, they have a reason to not want to free him almost. You feel me?
Oh, they do. They are afraid of this man.
And do we think he's going to be able to unleash it before Blackbeard gets a hold of it?
Yes, he will see his devil fruit.
Okay.
We'll definitely see it because, like, we have to see that representation of the Serpent of Hellfire actually reintroducing it within the story, because we have only seen it within the first world within that mural.
Right.
So that's also what Emu is waiting on, because, like, whenever we're looking at Blackbeard, we have to look at it in the regard of, like, his picture was also cut. Shirahoshi's and also Luffy's picture was cut, but Vivi's wasn't. So it's like, why would Vivi's not be cut in the first place? Well, one, Emu would be inhabiting Lily's body. They're waiting for Vivi to actually, of course, get back to Marie Joie. That's why Emu was actually mad in the regard of why was Vivi actually not captured and brought back, because that was going to be the body that they were going to transfer to. That's why they also want Law. That's why Law's like fruit has such a high bounty on it outside of the immortality surgery.
This is amazing.
Like, so Quill, it comes from my homie Quill. So of course, like how you mentioned him, right? So that comes from him. But essentially, like, I've of course put my own twist on it. Essentially, like pretty much figuring out Emu's devil fruit, because we've only seen the tail of it. I just made a recent video on it. Actually, I think it's pretty reminiscent of how we're going to see her, or not her, but his fruit rather.
Hey man, y'all heard that? We can't give y'all all the answers here, so y'all be sure to go check out this man's page, DraculaDrage. He's gonna give y'all the theories, and y'all, like I just heard, you got something about Emu, man.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So does Blackbeard know that he's supposed to eat that fruit?
All right, so once he sees this fruit, he's gonna want this fruit in the specific reality of, one, he is supposed to be, it's pretty much that checkered fate that we keep hearing about with the D family, right? So like whenever it comes to like the darkness aspect, that would be that serpent of hellfire, which is also like that hell relation. So once he realizes, okay, one, Loki has this fruit, this is also going to be pretty much him getting like that soul aspect, because he needs that spirit from Goka essentially, because he has heavy ties with the moon also.
So Blackbeard's gonna kill Loki.
Yes. It's going to be during the...
Blackbeard's always been drawn with the moon.
If you don't mind my prediction on when he's going to do it, it's going to be during the final war, essentially. So it's going to be a parallel back to Marineford, even though, of course, Oda already said that it's going to be like sweet cake whenever it comes to how we were looking at Marineford. Parallel back to that whenever we see Loki actually die, essentially.
So, okay. All right. Okay.
Do you think Loki's going to die as a Straw Hat? That's what I want to know.
As a Straw Hat? Most likely, yeah. I think he would actually be a Straw Hat. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really see him not being a Straw Hat. So
I have a question that is, if I want to make sure, Bamba, I want to make sure that we get through everything you want to talk about this specifically, because I have a question that's unrelated.
No, go ahead.
So I have a question that's unrelated to somebody that we have recently seen, Rox Dizabek. Do we see him only being mentioned in the past tense, or do we see him returning at some point?
Shoot.
Like, does he fit into this final story other than flashbacks?
He does fit into the story, because I mean it would also be based off of the inherited will. I also think that he had the dark fruit before Blackbeard actually had it. Also, with that being said, I think ideally, like, I've seen a lot of stuff about him pretty much being like the man marked by flames. I don't think that's too ideal. But I mean, outside of that, I think that he's going to have heavy relations to essentially like how we see like Ace's fruit. Essentially, whenever Salvo got it right, he pretty much has those like remembered memories, or like essentially like moves that like we see. Those would be those.
Damn near like they're talking to the person.
Yeah, it's essentially like that. So that's how I see like Zabek pretty much being reintroduced into the story, if it's not like him actually still being alive.
Okay. That's all. That's the only question I had. I was like, I feel like we gotta touch on that real quick.
Oh yeah, that's all good. Shoot, I don't mind. I love it.
I don't know why we don't be thinking about like the link to the devil fruits. Like clearly, it's been highlighted many times. Like Sabo is like, "Oh, Ace said." I'm like, "Where's Ace?"
Facts.
It's like Ace said. So I'm like, clearly the things be communicated, but for the longest, I've been thinking like, what is the link between Blackbeard and Zabek? Zabek leaves some knowledge for him, but sometimes it's simple. It's so simple that we just look over it. The devil fruit.
I got a question.
Yes.
Sir.
So is Blackbeard gonna pop up at LBAP, or is he gonna see this devil fruit on a transponder still? The video transponder still?
I would say like it's more if he sees it maybe like in this next arc that we're going to be seeing, because honestly, how I'm seeing LBAF, it's essentially a parallel back to Water 7. So I'm assuming, like, of course, it's a bit out there, but it kind of is like what I'm pretty much seeing right now because of the kids. But I believe that like maybe 2 or 3 of the kids actually do get taken to Marie Joie. Also, we're of course seeing that now Marie Joie is on fire, all these different types of situations. So one, the Straw Hats and them are also going to have to go to Marie Joie, in which that would also enter into that Innie's lobby sector, in which that parallel to Robin pretty much being the kids in that parallel.
That'd be fire. That'd be fire. That'd be fire. Oh my God, that'd be fire. That'd be fire.
So yeah, that's honestly how I would see it. And then that third party that we see whenever we see like Omio and I forget what the other giant's name is, but that would pretty much be like the Revolutionary Army pretty much being that third party that we're seeing. So that would also be that, because they were already there. So I mean, the Revolutionary Army is essentially already there. So I mean, that would just be that.
Why does nobody talk about Punk Hazard with this?
Because I don't think that people really are like, well, one, I'm always rereading or like looking for certain things within the story. So I mean, like whenever it comes to Punk Hazard, I think it ideally comes into the fact of like how they were pretty much trying to make like giants again, right? So like whenever we're looking at Imith, right, they pretty much are very reminiscent of how we're seeing like Ors or Loki, because they have horns on the side of their head. Right. So that's pretty much what was happening within the Ancient Kingdom. They were making robots that essentially were representative of the ancient giants. But of course, we're seeing like with the numbers, they are failed experiments of the numbers, which also is what one Emu always wanted in the first place, which is ancient giants, because that would parallel to the fact of they might be able to harness this ancient energy source.
Okay, so one question I'm gonna have, as far as what's behind me right here, is this little segment. They said within the earth there was fire. Mankind succumbed to the greed and touched the forbidden sun. What does that, like, just from what you know in general? What do you think the metaphor of the flame on the earth is at that point?
The flame on the earth, it would be the forbidden sun that they have touched. So ideally, like whenever it comes to like the actual like mother flame that we're assuming is going to be this forbidden sun, they're two different things to my interpretation of how I'm seeing it. I see as like the one that Vegapunk has made, it's a rendition or pretty much like a false one, essentially. Like it's not the same thing, because like we're looking at like essentially all the things that we were seeing within like this mural. Like if we look at the thing that we're assuming Emu is holding, that would just be the rendition of the forbidden sun. That would be our eternal flame, essentially. But like whenever we're seeing the mother flame, it's more like it's just used to power up certain things, in which it wouldn't be Uranus, like what was powering up to destroy Lelouchia, in my opinion.